Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Millennium TV Headline News. This is Ishra Jahan with the top stories. Obama-Iran nuclear deal successful but more work needed. Obama-ISIL madmen would launch nuclear attacks. Death toll rises after Kolkata bridge collapse. North Korea to pursue more nuclear deterrence. India police file homicide case over flyover collapse. Sickening sex abuse alleged in car by UN peacemakers. Obama weekly address defeating ISIL. Viewers, now the detail. At the Nuclear Security Summit in Washington, US President Barack Obama said the Iran nuclear deal has been successful, but it will take time for Iran to reintegrate into the global economy.
This deal has achieved a substantial success.
US President Barack Obama said on Friday the Iran nuclear deal has been successful so far, but it will take time for Iran to reintegrate into the global economy. Obama, speaking after a meeting at the Nuclear Security Summit in Washington, said the six world powers that reached the deal with Tehran last summer will need to continue working to implement it fully.
All the leaders who are gathered here, the countries who are participating,
US President tells world leaders at Washington summit that there is a persistent and evolving threat of nuclear attacks.
Fortunately, because of our coordinated efforts, no terrorist group has succeeded thus far in obtaining a nuclear weapon or a dirty bomb made of radioactive materials.
US President Barack Obama urged world leaders on Friday to step up efforts to prevent madmen from groups such as the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant from obtaining nuclear weapons, as he announced that 102 nations have ratified a treaty of the protection of nuclear materials. Speaking at a nuclear security summit in Washington, D.C., Obama said there was a persistent and evolving threat of nuclear attacks despite progress in reducing such risk. We cannot be complacent, Obama said, adding that no group has succeeded in getting their hands on nuclear weapons. He pointed out, however, that Al-Qaeda had long sought them and ISIL had already used chemical weapons, including mustard gas, in Syria and Iraq. There is no doubt that if these madmen ever got their hands on a nuclear bomb or nuclear material, they would certainly use it to kill as many innocent people as possible, Obama added. It would change our world.
An environmental catastrophe with global ramifications for decades. It would change our world. So we cannot be complacent. We have to build on our progress. We have to commit to better security at nuclear facilities, to removing or disposing of more dangerous material, to bringing more nations into treaties and partnerships that prevent proliferation and smuggling, and to make sure that we have the architecture in place to sustain our momentum in the years ahead.
The death toll after the bridge collapses in Kolkata, India has risen to more than 20, with authorities holding out little hope of finding more survivors. The search and rescue operation in Kolkata has wrapping up. Authorities say there's little chance of finding more survivors. The death toll one day after the bridge collapsed in this bustling commercial district has risen to more than 20. The overpass was under construction when it suddenly crashed down on pedestrians and vehicles below. Rescuers worked through the night to clear the massive concrete slabs and twisted steel. 90 people have been rescued, many with serious injuries. The overpass was already well behind schedule, and it's thought that years of delays may have corroded the metal, undermining its integrity. Police say they are opening a case of culpable homicide and have sealed the local offices of IVRCL, the Indian company constructing the bridge. This amid public anger over a senior company manager's description of the disaster as an act of God. Pyongyang fires new missiles as its ambassador for the UN in Geneva says a state of semi-war is now ongoing. North Korea pledged to pursue its nuclear and ballistic missile programs in defiance of the United States and its allies, with a top envoy saying there is now a state of semi-war on the undivided peninsula. So, Se-yong, North Korea's ambassador of the United Nations in Geneva, made the statement on Friday as the US and South Korea held military exercises, which he said were aimed at the decapitation of the supreme leadership of the DPRK. If the United States continues, then we have to make these countermeasures also. So we have to develop and we have to talk more about deterrence, nuclear deterrence, so said in an interview with news agency. case filed against company that had been building overpass which collapsed in Kolkata city, killing at least 23. Indian police on Friday registered a case of murder and attempt to murder against the company that had been building a overpass which collapsed in Kolkata, killing at least 23 people and injuring dozens. 3 officials of the IVRCL Infrastructure Corporation were arrested and 7 other employees detained in connection with the collapse of the unfinished overpass in the busy Burabazar area of the city, officials said on Saturday. The employees are being questioned over possible charges of murder and culpable homicide, crimes that are punishable by death or life imprisonment, and criminal breach of trust, which carries a prison sentence of up to 7 years, police said. Police also sealed the company's Kolkata office. 2 senior engineers from Kolkata Metropolitan Development Authority, which was a joint venture partner in the project, have also been suspended by the state government, local channel NDTV reported. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, whose centre-left party is seeking re-election soon in the state of West Bengal, where Kolkata is located, said those responsible would not be spared.
You know, the main part of the operation is over, where the people were under the debris yesterday. Now the second part of the operation, which you see, the flyover is still leaning in one direction. So that will be done in a very systematic manner.
UN and French peacemakers accused of grim abuses in restive African nation, including bestiality with children. The United Nations announced 108 new sexual abuse cases allegedly by international peacemakers in Central African Republic, with a vast majority of victims being children. A report by the US-based advocacy group said 3 girls in car told UN staff they were tied up and forced to have sex with a dog by a French military commander in 2014. UN spokesman Stéphanie Dujarric on Thursday called the allegations shocking to the core and promised exemplary disciplinary action. If they are proven true, France's UN ambassador Francois Delattre called the allegations sickening and odious. The accusations, dating from 2013 last year, were first announced by the group AIDS Free World late on Wednesday. Dujarric told reporters on the UN that confirmed the allegations involving the dog at this point, but investigations continue. This issue had been out there in public for almost a year, but allegations kept on coming, said media reporter reporting from the United Nations in New York. People who were sent to protect the civilians are in fact becoming perpetrators. A report published in the late January condemned the UN for failing to respond to allegations of child abuse against peacemakers in the Central African Republic. The dependent investigations say the UN handling of the case was seriously flawed, accusing it of not taking the required actions after the alleged abuse of young boys by French soldiers became known. AIDS Free World said 98 girls in car reported being sexually abused between 2013 and 2015 by perpetrators who have left the country. It is also said information on the alleged rape of a 16-year-old girl by a Congolese peacemaker only 3 days ago in a hotel room has been turned over to the United Nations.
Over the past week, UNICEF staff from the office in Bangui have undertaken 4 visits to meet with the 4 alleged victims. UNICEF is also working with local partners to help the girls receive medical care and is assessing their psychosocial needs.
In this week's address, President Obama offered his thoughts and prayers on the people of Belgium and to the families of the victims of the terrorist attacks in Brussels, including at least 2 Americans.
This week, our hearts are with the people of Belgium, as terrorist attacks claimed the lives of more than 30 people. Yesterday, we learned that at least 2 Americans were killed. We pray for their families and loved ones. At least 14 Americans were injured, and we pray for their full recovery, along with everyone else affected by these attacks. Earlier this week, I called the Prime Minister of Belgium and offered him our full array of support in bringing to justice any terrorists involved in planning or aiding this unconscionable attack on innocent men, women, and children. Belgium's a close friend and ally of the United States, and when it comes to our friends, America has their back, especially as we fight the scourge of terrorism. More broadly, we're going to continue to root out and defeat ISIL. We've been taking out ISIL leadership, and this week we removed one of their top leaders from the battlefield permanently. A relentless air campaign and support for forces in Iraq and Syria who are fighting ISIL on the ground has allowed us to take approximately 40% of the populated territory that ISIL once held in Iraq. We're supporting Iraqi security forces who are beginning to put pressure on the ISIL stronghold of Mosul, and we will not stop until ISIL's safe havens are destroyed. We're also working to disrupt plots against the United States and against our friends and allies. A team of FBI agents is on the ground in Belgium supporting the investigation. We've ramped up our intelligence cooperation so that we can root out ISIL's operations, and we constantly review our homeland security posture to remain vigilant against any efforts to target the United States. ISIL poses a threat to the entire civilized world. That's why we've been leading a truly global coalition that will be vital to our success. Secretary Kerry is leading an international effort to bring the Syrian war to an end, a critical piece of restoring stability to that war-torn part of the world. And next week, dozens of world leaders will come here to Washington for a summit focused on nuclear security. We'll use that opportunity to also review our joint efforts against ISIL and to make sure the world remains united in this effort to protect our people. As we move forward in this fight, we have to wield another weapon alongside our airstrikes, our military, and our counterterrorism work, and our diplomacy. And that's the power of our example. Our openness to refugees fleeing ISIL's violence, our determination to win the battle against ISIL's hateful and violent propaganda, a distorted view of Islam that aims to radicalize young Muslims to their cause. In that effort, our most important partners are American Muslims. That's why we have to reject any attempt to stigmatize Muslim Americans and their enormous contributions to our country and our way of life. Such attempts are contrary to our character, to our values, and to our history as a nation built around the idea of religious freedom. It's also counterproductive. It plays right into the hands of terrorists who want to turn us against one another, who need a reason to recruit more people to their hateful cause. I'm a father, and just like any other parent, the awful images from Brussels draw my thoughts to my own children's safety. That's also why you should be confident that defeating ISIL remains our top military, intelligence, and national security priority. We will succeed. The terrorists will fail. They want us to abandon our values and our way of life. We will not. They want us to give in to their vision of the future. We will defeat them with ours. Because we know that the future belongs not to those who seek only to destroy, but to those who have the courage to build. Thanks.
Viewers, let's have a look at Millennium TV headline news recap. Obama-Iran nuclear deal successful, but more work needed. Obama-ISIL madmen would launch nuclear attacks. Death toll rises after Kolkata bridge collapse. North Korea to pursue more nuclear deterrence. India police file homicide case over flyover collapse. Sickening sex abuse alleged in car by UN peacemakers. Obama weekly address defeating ISIL. You are up to date with the top stories so far here on Millennium TV, and don't forget to log into www.millenniumtv.net. Thank you and stay with Millennium TV. Allah Hafiz.